Hello everyone, and how's it going today? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got a little project going on with the 2022 F350 Tremor. I've got a full level kit from PMF Suspensions. I got Icon 2.5-inch leveling springs. I've got the PMF adjustable heavy duty track bar. I've got the billet sway bar end links, and we've got Bilstein 5100 shocks. You know, we'll do a little bit of like a time-lapse video, and we'll get going on that right now. I'm also, forgot to mention, I also took some measurements of the front suspension before the lift and the rear suspension before the lift. Even though we're really not doing anything with the rear, I took measurements anyway. Then afterward, after I put the new springs, get everything on there, let it all settle just for, you know, drive it back and forth a little bit to make sure everything's settled good, I will take some new measurements after the lift with the front and the rear. And I will post those up just to see if it's exactly getting the 2.5 inches above, you know, greater, less than, whatever. So we'll also check to see how level it is, hoping for, I mean, I wouldn't mind actually a tiny bit nose down, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. I have a feeling it's gonna be a little bit high in the front, and then I'm gonna have to change out the rear blocks, which not a big deal because I will also be adding airbags to this. So I'll just change those blocks out when I do the airbags. But let's get going on this right now. All right, so first off, we're gonna start with the rear shocks. I'm gonna start with the rear shocks because it's quick, easy, just 4 bolts, both shocks, done. So take off the lower, you got your 18mm holdback wrench and your 21 to undo the nut. It's an 18mm socket for the top bolt on the rear shock. All right, both shocks come out that fast. Time to put the rears on. To make it a little easier to get the top portion of the shock on, spray a little WD-40 on the stud. Okay, rears are done. All I gotta do is torque them to the manufacturer specs of, I will find out in a moment. All right, after a little research on the interweb, the rear upper gets 52 foot-pounds, the rear lower is 111 foot-pounds. Got my torque wrenches set, ready to go. Need an extension for the side with the exhaust. All right, the rears are done. Rear shocks installed, torqued factory specs of 52 upper, 111 lower, done. Now it's time to move on to the front. All right, well now we're on to the front. The front is much more involved. You need to be able to get the front axle at full droop so that you can get the stock springs out and obviously put the taller new front springs in. So you gotta remove the track bar, which I'm gonna be replacing anyway, remove the shocks, which I'll be replacing those. Make sure you take the little bolt out that holds the bracket for the brake line, because when you go to full droop, your brake line's probably gonna get too tight, so you gotta remove them. You gotta watch for any wiring that goes to the front axle, your vent tubes, all of that type of stuff you got to be looking out for. So then you got to, after you get all that stuff removed, or at least the way that I'm going to do it, I'm going to remove all that. Then I'm going to jack up the front end pretty high and leave the jack under the axle, but put jack stands under the frame, and then slowly start to lower the front axle with the jack, then bringing the frame down onto the jack stands, and keep going down as far as you can until it's pretty much just hanging there. And then you start the process in reverse. And sway bar end links, I believe you're gonna have to remove those also in that first process. So once you get all that and you get your front springs out, then you just do everything in reverse order and go to town. I mean, it's not a terrible job. I'm doing it all by myself with no lift, just jacks and jack stands, so it's really not too bad. So let's get going on the disassembly of the front. The lower track bar bolt, the axle side of the track bar, the bolt or the nut is 24 millimeters. The nut on the frame side of the track bar, on the back side, is 30 millimeters. So you got to come in from the back side with your impact, with your 30 millimeter and an extension, because you're not going to be able to reach it in there, and then put a crescent wrench or adjustable on the front side and hold that. Pretty sure last time I did this I already had the tires off, but I figure I'm going to get everything loose and ready to go. Stock track bar removed. Here's the difference between the two. Quite a bit. You can see the ends, much stronger. Sorry, like that. You got Heim joints, much better. All right, I guess I'm gonna jack up the front end now before I take the shocks off, get the wheels out of the way. It's just gonna make it easier. All right. I got the front tires off. I got it up on jack stands. I'm getting ready to remove the front shocks and the little brackets that hold on the brake line. I'll show you exactly what's got to be done for the front shocks. I don't know exactly what size metric the top nut for the shock is, but it's bigger than 21 because I couldn't get that one on there, which is right here. But I don't have an in-between size, and I don't think it's 24, so I'm going with 7/8, which works. So I just use this extension with this universal joint on there, so that way there it is able to get down to where it is. I'll show you where that's at and what all needs to be done. All right. I don't know if you're not going to be able to really see that from there, but that is the nut and the stud portion of the front shock on the upper. Here's where it is on the side. You pretty much just got to remove that nut and remove those. And then for the driver's side, it is also kind of buried down there. Let's see. Trying to see exactly where it's at. I can't really see too good. Well, it's you can kind of see it down there. I'll show you from the other side also. But here's it right there. You got to take this off right here to get on there. These are the brackets that you have to remove for the brake lines so that they fully extend. There's the other lower shock bolt, and over on the passenger side, same bracket for the brakes. So I'm gonna go remove all that. Then I will get the sway bar end links removed, and then it's time to drop the front axle. You gotta put some channel locks or a wrench on there, otherwise the whole stud's gonna spin. I actually kind of forgot about that, but that does need to be done. while you're doing this. Simple as that. Now it's off. Now I go to the other side, do the same thing. So for the lowers, that is right there, it's an 18 millimeter. You don't need anything on the back side. It's got the bolt with a flag welded on it. But what you do need to do, you need to start the truck, turn the steering wheel so you can get your impact in there. Unless you want to leave it like that and use a ratchet or something like that. But I'm going to use the impact to take it off. This is all it is right here. That's welded on. Loosen that up with the impact, like this. Done. Other side. Now both shocks are ready to be removed. All right, everyone, I had a brain fart. I wasn't really thinking clearly. You do not remove this bracket. You remove this bolt right here, which is a 10 millimeter. That allows your brake lines to extend plenty. So I'll remove that one instead. That is a 10 millimeter. Pull that out a little bit. Plenty of movement now. Put that bolt right back in there so you don't lose it. Both sides. All right, sway bar end lengths, 18 millimeter and an 8 millimeter. You gotta hold the top like that and then use the ratchet wrench. I don't know if you can see that, but put that on there and hold it with this. Unscrew the nuts. That's it. All right, now I'm going to start lowering the axle and see if there's anything else that I need to disconnect or watch for slack. I think I've got everything. So we're going to start lowering very slowly. I just removed a clip that holds, I believe, the brake line just off the trailing arm, or radius arm, trailing arm. All right, I believe that is everything. One spring out. Two springs out. That's it. That's simple. Now let's get a little comparison side by side with the stock and the new ones. When you put the isolators back on, these have to go with, and make sure that you get the end lined up properly. Right there, make sure that's lined up. So there is a good view of how much taller the new ones are. I mean, they're gonna be a much better spring. So hopefully they go in easy, because obviously now they're longer, you need a little bit more axle droop to put them back in. So we'll see how it goes. Got to go for a little help. All right, when there's no one here to help, you got to improvise. I put this jack underneath the drum, or the rotor on this side, jacked it up a little bit, which moved this side down. So hopefully I can get the new spring in there now. Let's give it a whirl. All right, the new spring's in there. Make sure this is still positioned correctly. Got to make sure that's still positioned correctly. That's got to be right there. And there's also one down here on the axle, which I don't know if you can really see it too much, but it is right there. The other end of the spring needs to butt up against that. So, I'm a little winded, but doing this by myself once again, but there's that side. Now, I'm gonna bring the jack over to this side and do the same thing. So that way there I can get the other spring in. Oh, got it. There we go. All right, I got both springs in. Now it's time to start putting stuff back together. I made sure that the end of the spring is hitting the stop. I got the top isolator all situated. So time to start putting things back together. I'll start with I'll jack it up a little bit, get the sway bar end links going on, then put the shocks on, reattach the brake line bracket. Let's see, I'm kind of tired. Put those couple vent line clips back on, and then go for the track bar. The track bar you put on loosely until it's completely set on the ground. Then you torque the track bar bolts. I'm just jacking it up enough, put tension on the springs, make sure everything's clear. I don't want to jack it up off the jack stands. Okay, everything's good. Jack it up enough to where I can get the shocks in and everything bolted back up. Brake line brackets are back in. Putting the clips back in for the brake lines also right now. Vent line for the axle, the breather. That's back on. All right, well, I was going to do the front sway bar end links right now, but I think I'm going to wait on them until after I get all of the rest of the stuff on the front put back together, wheels and tires back on, actually sitting on the ground on its own weight. So that way there I can determine the length and all that stuff. So I'll do those afterwards. So I guess I will go to the front shocks right now and get going with them. Here are the front shocks. Put these on right now. They come with this hardware pack and new washers and bushings and all that, so you do have to put them on a specific way. Just follow the instructions and how they tell you to put it on. It's very simple. You do reuse the stock bottom hardware. I'm going to start the truck back up, turn the wheel. I'm going to tighten them with the impact a little bit, and then I will torque afterward. All right, well, I got the bottoms torqued. I was getting ready to torque the uppers, but after a little bit more research, I was looking at the Bilstein paperwork. Really, all you do is you tighten the nut until it bottoms out, because you put that little sleeve in there that comes with it, so you just tighten the nut until it bottoms out. So that's what I'm gonna do. I already did the other side. Just figured I'd show you on this side. I'm gonna peel this boot down a little bit, put some channel locks on the very top portion of the shaft, or whatever the hell you want to call it, the stem, and start tightening. Okay, that's it, finally. Had to use two pairs of vice grips on there because the shaft kept wanting to spin. But it's chromoly, so it don't even leave a mark on there at all. Okay, pull the boots back up, and I guess the next step, well, I have to set the track bar, get it all set to length and all that, and then get that on, lower it down. All right, so I got the track bar set. According to the instructions, you set the track bar or adjust the length of the track bar to 37¼ inches. I got that ready to go. I got all the next steps ready. I will have to put thread lock in there on both sides for the jam nut, but that's once I get it on the truck and kind of get it set, so that way there I can lock those down when needed. So for now, I've already got it back on its own weight. I also did a quick tire rotation while I was doing all this, but I got it back on its own weight. Everything's torqued. Next thing that I'm gonna work on, I'm gonna get the sway bar end links on, put the brackets on and all that stuff. There's all that. Get all that stuff ready. And then I'm just gonna do the track bar last, but we'll get going on the sway bar end links. All right, well, here's the sway bar end links. We got the factory one right here, the new one right here. It comes with these brackets right here that you will put on like this, but you want to put them on the truck first because the hardware goes through there. I just figured I'd show you exactly how they go. So pretty much what you're going to do is adjust right here to equal that length. So you just screw this part out till it gets to about that length, and you know, that way there you're getting around about the same length. Or actually, yeah, you want about the same length because these give the extra so that it makes up the difference. So that's, I just figured I'd show you exactly what they were before I got them put on a little closer look. Okay. Oh, I don't know if you can see this, but I got the brackets on the axle and the bracket, where am I looking at? Sorry. Oh, right there, sorry. Okay, so I put those brackets on. I'm gonna tighten them down. There's really not much instruction for how these go. Not much at all, but I'm just gonna do my best for now. Well, I'll tell you what, it took a lot longer than thought. Kind of sucked, but I got it. All right, track bar's on, sway bar end links on. I took the wheel back off so that I could torque the upper track bar bolt, which is right there. That has to be torqued to 450 pounds. So that's not fun, but we got it. So here are the sway bar end links and the brackets. They give these brackets with the kit. So I got all that on. Honestly, I am not 100% sure that it's all on correctly. There was no instructions. I looked at the picture on their website. I tried to follow that. So I'm gonna call PMF in the morning just to make sure, but that's where we're at with that. So, I mean, got it all there. So, track bar right there. Very nice track bar. That's all on there right there. That one gets torqued to 295. The jam nuts get torqued to 195. There's the other sway bar end links right there. So really all I've got to do still, I've got to put the front driver's side tire back on. Then kind of I'm gonna back it up, drive forward, back up, drive forward, back up, just settle the suspension, get everything set straight, get everything set, let it settle. Then I have to adjust the steering so that the steering wheel's all centered, and that is about it. I mean, it really was not too terrible as far as the overall entire job, but it did take me a little while just because I had to do some research and learning throughout the job. But I'll get that last little bit done, and I'll get right back to you. All right, everyone. Well, this pretty much brings us to the end of the video. That's how it's sitting. I'll show you what the measurements for the fender heights were before and after, but it sits pretty level. I mean, I put a level on the bed while in my garage or in my barn, and it sits very level. The bed rails are pretty much perfectly level. So there it is right there. And here are the measurements. So this was obviously before the lift. The front was 42 inches. The rear was 44 and a half. After the lift, 43 and a half in the front, 44 and 3/4 in the rear. Not sure why it got any higher in the rear, but it did. I mean, I did not move the truck until it was completely done when I took the measurements, but it got a little higher, so not sure why. Maybe the suspension didn't completely settle before I took the measurement. I can't remember, but that's it. That was the install of the springs, the track bar, the sway bar end links, the shocks, all of it. All right, everyone, it's time for the road test portion with the new suspension. So far, it seems to be riding pretty good. Got no complaints, got the new shocks on, got everything, rides nice and smooth. I'd have to say that for the amount that it cost, I'm more than satisfied. I mean, I'm not on anything rough, but up here I'll actually get into the grass, but I mean, it rides nice. The Bilstein 5100s, I would have to say, are probably a little bit softer of a shock than the stock Tremor shocks. If I had to guess, I would say that they're a little softer. I'm liking it. I mean, I drove to work today. Really, that's about it. But I'll turn off into the grass up here in just a minute, and I'll kind of go back towards my house. You know, go a little bit fast, but not crazy fast. I mean, it's not really smooth, but just to see how it is in the in a little rougher terrain as I go. This is where I take my side-by-side all the time. It's definitely not what you would consider smooth, as you can tell. But, you know, I mean, I'm only going, I don't know, 30 miles an hour. But the shocks seem to eat it up pretty good. Springs, everything. Not bad at all. You know, it's not really rough at all. I mean, I'm going 35 miles an hour right now, and it's doing good. I guess we'll just get back out onto the road. We'll see how it handles the ditch. I mean, obviously, I'm not going straight at the ditch. I've got some cars coming. If anyone's thinking of getting some new suspension to upgrade their Tremor or their FX4 or whatever, these springs and shocks are a pretty good combo. I mean, absolutely worth the money. Ride's great.